Folks, stunning new details surfaced in the incident involving Omar Gonzalez at the White House. He was armed with a knife. Of course, he jumped the fence. We were told by Secret Service that earlier this month, when he breached the mansion's doors, he was caught right there. That apparently is a lie. The Washington Post has a detailed account of what actually took place. They say he ran across the North Lawn without being stopped. He wasn't shot or taken down by dogs. The Secret Service claimed he was arrested inside the door, but not true. Apparently, he overpowered a Secret Service agent at the door, ran through much of the main floor, past the stairway, and leads up to the first family's residence, and was ultimately stopped at the far southern end of the East Room by an agent in the entrance to the Green Room. Neither Secret Service Director Julia Pearson nor President Barack Obama's staffers made the true story public. Pearson is testifying before Congress in about 35 minutes. This, of course, is also followed up by the Washington Post story over the weekend that in 2001, a man fired a rifle and several shots hit the White House, but they said initially there were no shots. It wasn't until a maid discovered broken glass and concrete before it was determined that shots were also fired. I want to go to our panel right now on this one. And so you got shots fired 3 years ago. You got this all of a sudden. Now we find out that he didn't just get right inside the door. Yeah. I mean, initially, oh, no. He got right inside the north portico door, captured, and it was all good. No. Right. And the problem here is, well, I don't understand. Guy could have had anthrax. Right. Guy, you don't know what he could have had. Right. And literally, the president's children was in the house with Mrs. Robinson. They could have been walking around the house when this guy busts in. And now we have, according to the Washington Post story, that the alarms right next to the door were muted. Based upon so-called complaint for the usher's office.
Right. So the ushers now dictate the policy with regard to security. So
if that's true.
Well, you know doggone well, we're going to find out it's true. I mean, Carol Leoning's piece in the Washington Post is shocking and should shock everybody. It is basically the rendition 3 years later of an assassination attempt. That's what that story is. And if we look at the last 4 years of the Secret Service, 2011 was the Salahi incident. 2012 was the prostitution scandal. 2013, Omar Gonzalez. And then 2013, we had Miriam Carey, who tried to ram the fence, and then, of course, was shot at the Capitol. But basically what we see here, we know that this president has gotten more threats than any other president in American history, okay? We know he's gotten 3 times the threats of any other president, and yet somehow the Secret Service can't even watch, like, a movie in Hollywood, Olympus Has Fallen or whatever, to see that this is like a possibility that these things can happen. So obviously Julia Pearson is going to get roasted in about a half hour, which she should, but somebody's got to get fired. Right? Well, somebody's got to get fired.
Well, first of all, I mean, I agree, but I think Julia Pearson is going to be ultimately a fall guy for a lax measure system that happened long before she came into office in 2000.
Okay, but here's what I don't understand.
She's been in the Secret Service for 30 years.
This is what I don't get. The president had just left the White House.
Right.
You would think that is a moment of heightened security. Right. Literally, he had left 4 minutes before. Are you telling me 4 minutes after the helicopter gets off the lawn, folks just go, all right, I want to go watch a television show right now?
No, they're actually still in official airspace.
Right.
They're still in official airspace, so they should still be all in command. At any point in time, you can walk around the White House, near the White House. You can see sharpshooters on top of the building. You can see people in the bushes. In the video that we saw earlier this morning, there were at least 4 people that were like walking or standing there looking at him, all uniformed service people who did nothing.
Shelley, go to a shot right now of the White House, please. Folks, you'll see right there, you rarely don't see that, and this is a live shot of the White House. You see 2 security guards staying at the front door. Most days in the past, normally it's one, or a lot of times you don't see anybody standing outside. It's usually so clearly, after this Washington Post story, somebody has finally gotten some brains and saying we have to step these things up. But the thing is, you've got the president, the first lady, their 2 daughters, and of course mother-in-law as well. They're in the White House. When those shots were fired, it was towards one of the rooms in the family quarters.
Exactly right.
This guy here gets in, literally they could have been walking around the house.
And the real shocker is not so much, obviously law enforcement cannot predict that some crazy person is going to do something, but their aftermath is ridiculous and terrible.
Well, see, what I don't understand is,
their aftermath
remember
is...
but Lauren, remember the first story. Snipers determined,
he wasn't a threat.
He's not a threat.
Right.
Wait a minute. How can you tell, looking through a scope, that, I don't see a bulge in his pocket, I don't see a grenade, I don't see explosives, he's no threat.
Here's the problem, Roland, here's the problem. Law enforcement today is reactive and not proactive. And when I say that we saw this...
Because they'll shoot a black man.
No, hold on. We've seen this in Ferguson.
They're proactive with that.
Down to Ferguson. The point of the matter is, instead of being proactive, instead of being on guard, they became lax. They allowed this man to run across the lawn, into the White House, deep into the White House, and everyone's saying, well, it's not my fault, it's not my fault. Somebody needs to take a fall for this. Secret Service has been it has been in chaos the last 10 to 12 years.
They're proactive when it comes to Eric Garner and Mike Brown, though. It's broken windows. They're proactive when it comes to that.
I'm trying to understand how do 5 levers of security fail at the same time.
Because, Roland, these cops today are so dependent on technology. That's what I'm talking about,
Michelle?
not being proactive.
No, it's something else.
No. Additional measures. We're talking about, a front door that should have been locked. We're talking about 2 people who were supposed to be stationed where they were supposed to be stationed, whether or not someone was in the building or not.
We're talking about guard dogs not being released. Snipers not taking somebody down.
Not once, but twice, because it was also not considered an alarm.
The other problem is that the U.S. Capitol, they drill, they train. I walk in there every day all the time, and there'll be a sign up that says, okay, we're having a drill today. They drill for locking the doors, the chamber doors, the doors of the Capitol. I don't see that at the White House. And I feel like, in knowing a lot of cops, and I have a lot of cops in my family, even though I've never been one, I feel like the U.S. Capitol Police is a little bit more hyper-vigilant than the Secret Service.
They used to drill